In this week's destructive drive, we get in a slide and end up in too tight and tangled. See what goes into making a Dutch rollover. Feel the earth move and taste it too. See how Spider-Man treats his toys. All this and more in this week's Drive. Celebrations of Ferrari's double Formula One triumph, the manufacturer's 14th championship and Michael Schumacher's 7th driver's title, have continued throughout Europe. Proud owners, apparently only of red Ferraris, and 50,000 fans and Schumacher admirers gathered at the Nürburgring recently for a celebration of the famous brand. There was something altogether too orderly about the way the Italian cars were lined up. Not surprisingly, Ferrari's main man, star of the moment, and probably the most talented racing driver ever to walk the planet, took centre stage. Everyone seems to enjoy this, except perhaps the owner of the car. Michael drove both this Ferrari 575 GTC and a Maserati MC12. Michael has been involved in Formula One for 13 years, but he did something unusual during the Ferrari Racing Days event. The world champion drove around the circuit the wrong way. In fact, 3 days before, Michael had escaped injury in a testing crash at Monza, which saw him wreck a Formula One car and have to lie down near the wreckage to get over the impact. Schumacher spun and hit the barriers while testing at Monza, while approaching one of the fastest parts of the track at around 300 kilometers an hour. His Ferrari was destroyed by an apparent tyre failure, and he was asked if he was really okay.
That's what it looks like, right? I'm still in one piece. Certainly it was a bit of a shock at first. I rested a bit and lay down, but otherwise nothing special happened, and I don't expect any lasting damage.
In an impromptu interview during the event, he was asked if he was still receiving medical attention as a result of the crash.
No, otherwise I would be in some hospital right now. But clearly, I don't have to fear any real major follow-up damage.
He was asked what he thought about the Ferrari enthusiast days.
It's definitely very nice if you can play around with your favourite toy and you don't always have to compete. This is simply about having fun.
The event continued at a track crammed with fans who saw races for Ferrari sports cars and more demonstrations, including close-up displays of the Formula One car. The stock cars raced on the half-mile oval in Bristol, Tennessee on Saturday night. In a race that would feature several caution periods, the start was clean and without incident. On the 32nd lap, Joe Nemechek and Scott Wimmer made contact after Wimmer was nudged by Ricky Craven. There was heavy damage for Nemechek after he bounced into the wall.
They're about the same size height by Powell.
On lap 361, Kyle Petty took over the driving duties for Kevin Harvick in the number 29 car. Harvick was suffering numbness in his arms and had to be helped out of his car by his pit crew. Harvick said his seat was pinching a nerve under his left bicep, forcing his arm to go numb. Once out of the car, Harvick sat taking fluids and being tended to by team doctor Jay Bolden. He was later declared fit and well. The 8th caution period of the day occurred on lap 365. Dale Jarrett in the number 88 car was running in second place. He spun after contact with Robbie Gordon. Tony Stewart, Sterling Marlin and Jeff Green and others crashed in the aftermath. There was a multi-car crash on lap 389. Rusty Wallace, Carl Edwards, Casey Kane, Tony Stewart, Bobby Labonte were all involved, being close behind Mark Martin and Brian Vickers. The in-car camera view showed that Wallace was hit several times. But it was the fans' favourite, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who took the checkered flag, his 4th victory of the season. The win came exactly 5 years to the night that his father, the late Dale Earnhardt, won at the same track. The win came the day after he dominated the Busch Series race at Bristol, and Earnhardt became the first driver to win both races at Bristol on the same weekend. Earnhardt and the other drivers got to enjoy a rare Sunday off, since this race was contested on a Saturday night, not on a Sunday afternoon when most of the races are run.
And that night, it was an Earnhardt in victory lane. And tonight, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is here after winning the night race.
Spectators were in a festive mood for the IRL race in Nazareth, home to both Michael and Mario Andretti. Roger Penske's cars have a record 7 victories at Nazareth, the track he built in 1986. But this was the final race to be run on the track. On lap 114, Ed Carpenter lost control slightly, just enough to send him into the outside wall. His car slid across the track as other drivers avoided him. The crash left debris on the track, which almost hit a driver moments later.
Guys, I've had that before, and I can in any way.
It was a frightening moment for a member of Sam Hornish's pit crew. Hornish pulled away from his pit with the fuel hose still attached, and the methanol fuel, which burns invisibly, sprayed all over the crew member, who immediately signaled for help. Team owner Roger Penske, in the white short-sleeve shirt, was one of the first of many to pour water on the stricken crew member.
Slow down. No accidents are expected here today. You guys can do this correctly.
A late race crash saw Townsend Bell clip the left rear tyre of Scott Sharp. That caused both of them to crash as they hit the outside wall.
Ends up getting Sharp's left rear, a lot of 52 miles.
It was left to British driver Dan Wheldon to win the race, his 3rd victory of the season. He previously won in Richmond, Virginia and in Japan. He was Rookie of the Year last year and is 2nd in this season's IRL Championship. Wheldon led for the last 79 laps and won from his Andretti teammates, Tony Kanaan and Dario Franchitti. Jimmy Vasser made a record 193rd consecutive Champ Car start in Montreal. Bruno Junqueira, all but out of the championship in a season dominated by his teammate Sébastien Bourdais, started from pole and was clear of the bumping and banging that took place on the road course on the Notre Dame Island. Rookie AJ Allmendinger was nearly knocked out of the race when he was hit by Paul Tracy and Alex Tagliani on the 2nd corner. There was only one full-course caution flag for 4 laps when Ryan Hunter-Reay slammed into a wall on lap 5. In the end, Junqueira was in the lead on the final lap and took the checkered flag. Local favourite Patrick Carpentier finished 2nd, crossing the line 6.3 seconds or half the length of the main straight behind Junqueira. 3rd went to Dominguez, who overcame an airgun failure in the pits that cost him nearly 30 seconds. Bruno's victory, combined with Bourdais' 15th place finish, put some life back into a championship battle that appeared all but over. With the 6th victory of his career and the 1st since last August, Junqueira sliced that margin to 34 points with 4 races remaining. Alfa Romeo was back in a dominating way on home ground before a large and appreciative partisan crowd. The first race of the 2 European touring car rounds at Imola was a straightforward win for the 3 Alfa Romeos, which displayed extra power and simply drove away from the opposition. Gabriele Tarquini and fellow Italian Fabrizio Giovanardi led, with young Brazilian teammate Augusto Farfus holding up a field of BMWs and Seats. The first race was quite uneventful, nearly anaesthetised by the Alfa's supremacy. Tarquini and Giovanardi led from the lights to the flag, and only Farfus's 3rd place was endangered by Genet, Prio and Salvatore Tavano. Race 2 was a totally different story, with the BMWs on top of the reverse grid and the Alfas obliged to fight their way through the field. A number of overtaking moves thrilled the crowd until the race turned to drama. On lap 3, Farfus overtook Genet, Tarquini jumped Prio and moved on to 3rd. The English BMW driver quickly lost 2 more positions to Farfus and Genet, and then collided with Tavano at the Variante Bassa. It didn't look like a serious bump, but a lap later, he retired. A pile-up in front of the main grandstand involved a brakeless Alex Zanardi, the crash-prone Tavano and Daste, resulting in a safety car period, and the race was neutralised for 3 laps. When the race restarted, the three Alphas grabbed the lead and the finishing order was repeated. But Farfus let the distance between himself and the leading duo exceed 5 car lengths, and the stewards later imposed a 30-second penalty, putting him 11th. Tarquini moves to 2nd in the title. Matthias Ekström of Sweden, driving an Audi, claimed pole position for the 8th race of the DTM German touring car season in Zandvoort in Netherlands. He led from the start and was followed by reigning champion Bernd Schneider. Ekström led for the first 23 laps. Laurent Aiello was one of several drivers unable to stay on the beachfront track, notorious for wind-blown sea sand. Ex-Formula One driver Heinz-Harald Frentzen continued his run of DNFs, retiring his Opel Vectra after just 6 laps. As drivers made their compulsory pit stops, Ekström maintained his lead, although Schneider couldn't keep up the pace and faded from 2nd to eventually finish 5th. On the 23rd lap, the race was halted after an horrific accident to Peter Dumbreck. The Scot rammed his Vectra GTS V8 hard into the crash barrier in the final corner. Despite the severity of the accident, Dumbreck was able to walk away. Following a lengthy break and the restart, the remaining 10 laps were completed as a sprint, with Ekström leading from start to finish to claim victory from his Audi teammate Martin Tomczyk of Germany and local hero Christian Albers in a Mercedes. Gary Paffett of Britain, also in a Mercedes and one of Ekström's fiercest rivals in the battle for the championship title, came 4th with Schneider 5th. The result puts Ekström 9 points clear of Albers at the top of the standings, with Gary Paffett a further 2 points back in 3rd. Penultimate race of the season will be held in Brno in the Czech Republic.
This was a great day, and after the restart I know that it would be a new race, and it was very hard after the first lap into the first corner where I had a lot of gravel from the accident on my tires, and luckily I stayed in front, and I'm so happy. And also that Martin, he is really a perfect teammate. We have so much fun, and finally we paid it off with a double victory with the Red Bull Audi A4, and yeah, I mean, for me it's just a great day.
37 teams entered the Syrian International Rally, the 6th round of the Middle East Rally Championship. 2 more rounds remain. Sheikh Khalid Al Qasimi of the United Arab Emirates went into the event leading the championship by a single point, with 1 win so far this season. The UAE driver went straight into the lead on the first of the opening day's 6 special stages. Defending champion Nasser Salih Al Attiyah, who took 4th place in the skeet shooting Olympic competition in Athens, moved into 2nd place on the final day. However, the Qatari was driving under protest following an alleged illegal servicing incident on the first leg, so he decided to withdraw from the rally at the end of the final stage rather than face a steward's decision. Al Qasimi's elder brother Sheikh Abdallah Al Qasimi regained 2nd place in a Mitsubishi Lancer. Al Attiyah's retirement gave Khalid Al Qasimi a margin of 6 minutes over his brother, with Ahmed Al Saban of Saudi Arabia 3rd. Al Qasimi extends his championship lead to 9 points from Cypriot Andreas Tsouloftis, who finished 4th. With 2 rounds of the Middle East Championship remaining, Khalid Al Qasimi will clinch the title if he wins in Cyprus in October. The world's largest toy car show, featuring over 2,000 Hot Wheels cars, has opened in London. The tiny die-cast model cars speed around tracks at high speed and have been popular for over 35 years. And now the company behind them is launching 100 new models.
It's just that great sort of pocket money toy that kids can just pick up and just go away and take their imaginations and play with it. It's capitalising on some of the trends of today's culture as well. So things like blings, cruise, just looking at that exaggerated sort of style of cars that are coming through the market today as well.
The high-speed cars, which race on special tracks, have proved popular across generations. John Ferguson has been collecting Hot Wheels for most of his life and has 3,400 cars.
It's a cheap and interesting hobby. A car you can buy for £1 can be a rare variation that you don't know about until the collecting field goes a couple of years down the line. And then you can have a car that's quite valuable.
They've even managed to capture the attention and imagination of a British TV presenter and father.
I loved it when I was little, and now they have all these new sets out. I play with my little boy with them. We love, I think I probably enjoy it more than he does still, but we love putting them together. And then the kind of new things like the dinosaur that eats them, and then we've got one that's a big planet, they go around the outside and they all explode and robots come in. You know, they're insane these days, so they're just a great fun toy.
The cars continue to generate interest in the age of computers and are popular with boys and girls.
Not like computer games. Computers you can just stick square eyes with. Hot Wheels just play all the time.
With 100 new die-cast models already being marketed in stores, the tiny cars look set to remain popular with another generation of kids, big and small. Speedway's Grand Prix Championship moved to Krško in Slovenia for the 7th of 9 events. After 22 heats, the first of the semi-finals produced the shock of the evening. The top 2 riders in the championship, Australians Jason Crump and Lee Adams, favourites to progress, the crowd was stunned to see the Aussie pair finish 3rd and 4th and be eliminated from the competition. Victory went to Hans Andersen of Denmark, with American Greg Hancock 2nd. The second semi went more to form, with the Swedish pair of Tony Rickardsson and Andreas Jonsson proving too capable for the Danish duo Nicky and Bjarne Pedersen, who aren't related. 5 times world champion Rickardsson lost his title to Nicky Pedersen last year. And so to the final, which was as closely fought as any of the races of the evening. Before the race, Rickardsson and the Swedish media had put the focus on the drawing of gates for the final and semi-finals, and how he had got the 4th gate 4 times in a row. Now he got number 1, but lost the start anyway. He never doubted that he would make it, though. All 4 riders were in contention into the final lap, but then Jonsson clipped Andersen's rear wheel and crashed out. That left Rickardsson to cross the line just in front of Hancock and claim victory. It was the 13th Grand Prix victory of his career and his first of the season. Rickardsson received 25 points for the win and now lies 2nd in the championship. The next Grand Prix, the penultimate one of the season, will take place in Bydgoszcz in Poland, with a final at Hamar in Norway. Australian Jason Crump still leads the standings, but Rickardsson has narrowed the gap to 15 points. Hancock remains in 3rd place, a point behind the Swede. American Nicky Hayden, who's currently 6th in the World Championship standings, missed the Portuguese MotoGP after breaking his collarbone in a supermoto crash in Italy. So his Honda teammate Alex Barros was feeling a little lonely in the pits. Valentino Rossi appeared to have a few mechanical problems to overcome before the race. The reigning world champion was unhappy with the handling of his Yamaha, but whatever the problem, the Italian was still good enough to secure 2nd place on the grid. Rossi's won 5 of the 10 races so far this year. The Italian is under pressure from title rival Sete Gibernau, who trimmed the gap to 17 points with victory at the Czech Moto Grand Prix. Gibernau qualified 3rd quickest, excited about the new exhaust system fitted to his Honda in testing. He was hopeful of finally breaking through for a win at the Portuguese track. He's twice crashed out while leading in recent years. Alex Barros, who failed to finish the Czech Grand Prix, was less than 0.2 of a second off the pace as he posted the 5th quickest time of the day. Makoto Tamada claimed his first ever pole position with the only time under 1 minute 38 seconds. His teammate, Italian Max Biaggi, was 4th fastest and would head up the 2nd row of the grid as his threat to Rossi's title falters. Max is a 4 times world 250cc champion. Marco Melandri was back from injury but could manage only 7th quickest to start from the 3rd row. Argentinian Sebastian Porto and Tony Elias of Spain headed the 250cc grid until the last moment, when Spaniard Daniel Pedrosa grabbed pole position. The trio had a lot of home country support from across the border. In the 125s, pole position went to Italy's Andrea Dovizioso and his Honda. Fellow Italian Simone Corsi took second, and Casey Stoner on a KTM claimed third place on the grid. Estoril has been good for Valentino Rossi. The defending world champion has won the last 3 Portuguese races. But off the line, it was Loris Capirosi's Ducati in the front, with the 2 yellow bikes of Tamada and Biaggi right behind. However, Rossi quickly grabbed the lead. Biaggi made an incredible mistake, braked way too late and clipped Capirossi's wheel, crashing out on the first lap. Despite trying, he was unable to restart the bike, and his championship challenge would appear to be all but over. Marco Melandri, now kitted up to publicise the new Spider-Man 2 movie release in Italy, was the next rider to road test his leathers. Gibernau's challenge was to find a way past Barros for third place as Rossi edged away. Tamada started on pole, but Rossi slipped into the lead and never looked back. So good was the Yamaha rider that the most intriguing battle in the 28-lap race was that between Brazilian Barros and Spain's Gibernau. Gibernau, second in the MotoGP standings, was desperate to score points as Rossi looked set to extend his lead in the championship. Rossi eventually won by nearly 6 seconds from Tamada in second, although Makoto performed the better finish line wheelie. Barros grabbed the last podium place ahead of Gibernau.
I won't try to push a lot from the beginning because I know if I arrive with another one at the end will be difficult because the tire for sure move a lot for everybody. But at the this morning we did a great job with my team, and we understand our problems. We fixed the bike, and already this morning did a very good warm-up. So I tried from the beginning. The start was not perfect, but in the first lap, I was always on the first position, and I make 4 or 5 very good lap time, and this possible go. At the end, anyway, the tire stay move, but don't is quite good, and it's possible arrive to the end and control the situation.
The next day, Rossi tested new engine parts and took 1/10 of a second off his best lap. He leads the title by 29 points from Gibernau. By failing to finish, Max Biaggi is almost right out of contention, and there are 5 races left in the season. Championship leader Dani Pedrosa's Honda team could offer no help as the Spaniard only managed 4th in the 250cc race at Estoril. Up ahead, Pedrosa's compatriot Tony Elias, also on a Honda, outdueled Argentine Sebastian Porto to win. Crucially, Randy de Punier came home 3rd, 1 place ahead of Pedrosa. In the late stages of the race, the Aprilia rider came under pressure as his Honda counterpart charged for the podium. The Frenchman's 3rd place means he creeps closer to the 250cc championship leader in the overall standings, with Porto very much in contention. Thankfully, Simone Corsi emerged unhurt from his crash in the 125s. Championship leader Andrea Dovizioso's race also came to a premature end. In his case, a mechanical fault with his Honda forced him into the garage and out of the race. Spaniard Hector Barbera took full advantage of this, his aggressive style taking him to a narrow victory ahead of Finn Mika Kallio on a KTM. Jorge Lorenzo finished in 3rd place. Dovizioso's advantage is now cut to 20 points with 5 races and up to 125 points still to come. And finally, it's obvious that the long paw of the law, in Germany at least, is out to put the bite on crime, even if this K9 unit is having a dog of a day. But he'll be showing his pedigree by hounding the flea-bitten mongrels to the bone and hauling them bark to the pound. One thing's for sure, after some hairy experiences, he should have a tale or 2 to tell. So, whether you're getting in a spin over a new model, having a problem getting a full tank, or just lost your car in the parking lot, so you stay on track and up to speed, make sure you catch next week's Drive.